Everyone, we will start the meeting. Apologies for starting a couple minutes late. At this time, I will start the meeting and we will call the meeting to order. All cell phones and devices, please put them on mute. I see that we have people that are remote. I don't see any of our folks that are remote that are here to talk about our next application. So I don't really know if I need to do any introductions, because I think everyone that is here and everyone that is online know each other. So maybe we'll do an introduction when we have, oh, there we go. We've got some folks here now. So I will do introductions. The staff present here. We have our planner, Randy Burke. Kim Alonson is here, Manager of Planning and Development Services of County of Lambton. Isabella Kane is our planning technician. And attending virtually, we have Adam Sablansky, who is the Chief Administrative Officer. Congratulations, Adam. And Corinne Nada, Chief Building Official for the County of Lambton. And here, as part of the committee, I have a committee member, Les Goldhawk, Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen. I have Councillor Mike Vasey, and I have also committee member Jennifer Turk, and myself, the chair, Bruce Moulton. So we will get the meeting started. I have a motion here moved by Les Goldhawk, seconded by Nettie McEwen, that the minutes from the regular committee meeting Committee of Adjustments meeting held August the 8th, 2023 be approved as presented. Everyone had the opportunity to read. All those in favor? That is carried. So we will move into our, anyone that has any declaration of pecuniary interest, please report them at the time of that. And we will move to our minor variance application A1623. Take notice that an application has been made by Felix Weber with respect to the property known as Concession 8 WPT Lot 295859 Fisher Line, Town of Plympton-Wyoming. The subject property is zoned agricultural 1A1 with hazard H, significant natural area, SNA, and wetland, WET, over portions of the land. Single detached dwellings are permitted in the A1 zone. The following variance has been requested for a proposed single detached dwelling. 1, a variance of 53.45 meters, 175.36 feet, as the proposed front yard setback is 103.45 meters, 339 feet. Notwithstanding, the maximum permitted front yard setback of 50 meters, 164 feet, as per the A1 zoning in Table A of the zoning bylaw. At this time, I will refer to our planner, Randy Burke.
So thank you, your chair. The application was previously in front of the Committee of Adjustment, in which it was deferred for the applicant to provide MDS calculations. The MDS calculations have been provided, and staff, myself, and some other senior staff members have reviewed, and they are satisfied and they are in compliance with MDS calculations. All of them. Yes, we ensured that multiple staff members took a look, because I'm relatively new to MDS. But sorry. So when you do a planning analysis of a minor variance, you have to look at the 4 tests which are within the town's official plan. The first one is the requested variance minor. There is no definition as to what constitutes a variance minor. It is a case-by-case situation. In this case, although the proposed variance requests a 51.6% variance, it is intended to keep the development in a consistent location of the pre-existing building that is on the lot, while also maintaining the integrity of the agricultural lands and not taking up any more of this viable parcel. For that, the variance is minor. Is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained? It is designated an agricultural area in which the primary use of the land is agricultural. And a dwelling that is used for accommodation of a full-time laborer or employment is permitted. So therefore, the general intent of the official plan is maintained. It's the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw maintained. It is zoned agricultural with a hazard, significant natural area, and wetland overlay. The proposed dwelling is located specifically within the agricultural zone, which a farmhouse dwelling is permitted. The dwelling is also located within the floodplain under the St. Clair Conservation Authority's regulation. Comments were provided to staff and they see no issues so long as the property is flood proofed, and that is provided in an attachment of the document. Therefore, with the MDS compliance, the zoning bylaw is maintained. And is the application desirable for the appropriate development? The property is zoned and designated for the appropriate use, and as well, again, they have provided compliance to MDS. So therefore, it is an appropriate development. Overall, planning recommends the approval of the application with the conditions located on the report.
All right, thank you very much, Randy. Anything to add from Mr. Weber?
I'm actually Mrs. Weber.
Mrs. Weber, thank you.
Sorry, Felix would be here, but he's at the Woodstock Farm Show. So
Okay.
my apologies.
You heard our report from our planner. Is there anything that you would like to add or would like to make any comments on?
No, but we appreciate all the work that the staff has done in terms of moving this project forward. It's our son that's planning on farming, and we're doing our best to support him in this. And the staff has been incredibly helpful because it's been a long process, and we just want to make sure that we do everything properly as we move forward.
All right, and I'll move then to Isabella. Any correspondence other than the correspondence that we received from all of the different agencies?
No additional correspondence was received.
All right, thank you. Then I'll move over to our committee for some questions. I'll start to my immediate right. Jennifer, any questions?
I don't have any. I agree with the planner's report and I don't have a problem with the application.
Okay, Councillor Vaizey.
Same here. I have no issues. Now we've got our measurements. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
No, I have no questions except that you do authorize that those MDS numbers are correct.
Yes.
All right.
For years.
So I have no objections at all.
Les.
No, I agree with the planner's analysis and our suggestion there. I can see that moving it back removes it out of a hazard area and also from the closest farm minimum distance setback. So.
Okay. Wow. Well, I have a motion here by Nettie McEwen, seconded by Les Goldhawk, that the report by Randy Burke dated August the 28th, 2023 regarding application A 1623 5859 Fisher Line be received and the application A 1623 be approved with the following conditions. One, that the applicant apply for an SCRCA permit at the owner's sole expense prior to any development taking place. Number two, that a certified lot grading plan be submitted to the town of Plympton-Wyoming and approved by the town prior to the permit issuance. Three, that a final grading plan certificate be submitted to the town of Plympton-Wyoming upon final completion and subject to town final approval. Number four, that the applicant apply for a building permit and comply with all requirements as prescribed by the Ontario Building Code and to the satisfaction of the County of Lambton Building Services Department. And number five, that any access driveway be completed to the standard of the town of Plympton-Wyoming streets bylaw. I call the motion. All those in favor? That motion is carried. There's a 20-day appeal period. During that time, you can get a hold of Isabella if you need any direction or have any questions. But after the 20-day appeal period, you're all the paperwork and all that kind of stuff and anything that needs to be built. All right. Well, we still have 2 more minutes before we move on to our next.
Is that a record?
You made up 3 minutes.
We might need that 2 extra minutes here, so. All right, we'll just pause Isabella for a couple minutes until we'll hear at 5:30. To my watch or cell phone, we're ready to go. So minor variance application number A-2223. Take notice that an application has been made by Travis Boma, agent for Scott and Hanan Nastwold, with respect to the property known as Concession Front Part Lot 5 and 13 Lot 8, Town of Plympton-Wyoming, 3156 Douglas Road. The subject property is zoned environmental protection, Lakeshore EPL, and residential 5 R5. The following variance has been requested for a proposed single detached dwelling. Number one, a variance of approximately 3 meters to permit the proposed front yard setback to be approximately 3 meters, notwithstanding the minimum front yard setback of 6 meters per table B of the zoning bylaw. Number two, a variance of 2.5% as the proposed lot coverage of all buildings and structures would be 27.5%, notwithstanding the maximum lot coverage of 25% as per table B of the zoning bylaw. Number three, a variance of 56.7 square meters for three buildings, size of 86.7 square meters, notwithstanding the maximum lot coverage of 30 square meters as per section 30H of the zoning bylaw. And number four, a variance of 1.34 meters for a total building height of 5.34 meters, notwithstanding the maximum height of 4 meters as per section 30.5 G of the zoning bylaw. So at this time, I will refer to our planner, Randy Burke.
Thank you, Chair. So again, when considering a minor variance, we have to go through the 4 tests. The first test is the requested variance minor. Just to state again, there is no definition as to what is minor, but it is a case-by-case situation. In this case, the proposed structure is intended to replace a current garage and provide more storage for personal items. And it does require the 4 minor variances, including front yard setback and lot coverage of an accessory structure. The proposed structure will run across the majority of the front yard as it is abuts Lake Huron, so it is permitted within the front yard, but again, it will cover the majority of that front yard there. And the reduced front yard impact setback may create visual impacts for drivers and the neighborhood characteristics. And because of the size and location, kind of specifically, and those potential impacts, the requested variance cannot be deemed minor. The second test is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained. The subject land do have two designations, Lakeshore Residential Area and Lakeshore in the official plan, both of which provide permit an accessory structure of this sort. The official plan also mentions that any development within the Lakeshore designation should consult the St. Clair Conservation Authority, which has been done, and the attachment has been provided. They do not see any concerns, so therefore the general intent of the official plan is maintained. The third is the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw maintained. So it does have two zones. It is zoned residential and environmental protection Lakeshore. The proposed structure is located within both zones. Therefore, the official plan states that it must comply with the provisions of Section 3, which is the environmental protection Lakeshore zone. So overall, the proposed structure is intended to be 83.61 square meters with a front yard setback of 3 meters. Again, within the property's front yard. This may have visual impacts for parking, driving, pedestrians, and overall neighborhood characteristics are a concern. Along with this, a site visit was done in which concerns regarding encroachment onto the neighboring property when entering the structure for boat and vehicle storage, which is its intended use, are a concern based on how far it'll be on this lot and how big the lot is overall. Encroachment is determined to potentially take place. As for the front yard setback, although it is creating a larger setback than what is already there from this from the existing structure that has a setback of 1.5 meters, we are also doubling over the size of the proposed accessory structure. So a 3 meter setback might be increasing, but you're also increasing the size. Due to these concerns, planning feels that the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is not maintained. So then the final one is the application desirable and appropriate development for the lands in question. Overall, the variance is not desirable or appropriate development of the land. The subject property cannot facilitate a accessory structure of this size, especially considering the front yard setback of 3 meters. For those reasons, staff is recommending denial. However, if committee does choose to recommend approval based on staff conversations and the letter from the Conservation Authority, it is determined that condition number 5 would not be required.
All right, thank you very much. At this time, I'll open it up to the folks. Travis, are you going to speak on behalf of the Natswold? I know we did receive a correspondence from you. Free.
It was myself that wrote the letter that you all received. Basically, I just wanted to, there's a lot of points to digest, so I just didn't want to throw it out to you here tonight. That's why I don't normally write in like this, but I thought there's a lot of information here. So I thought I'd get in front of you beforehand. In the interest of time, would you like me to go through any of the points, or would you like me to allow that as part of questioning? Or
I think the questioning, I believe that our committee has probably had the opportunity to read the correspondence. We got the letter yesterday, so
Okay.
I don't know if I don't think we need you to
Okay.
read that to us, but
Sure. Okay.
I don't know what the committee, we all had an opportunity to read that letter. Is that correct? So Travis, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
Certainly, talk about what our planner had put down and what your considerations. I know most of that was in the letter.
Sure.
So whichever, how you, and then we can open it up to our committee to ask the question.
Yes, I mean, for me, the biggest thing is the EPL zone and the R5 and where that's drawn on a line. My mapping that I had is based on a GIS mapping system, which in all honesty is a Google system, which can be skewed one way or the other. So, and I know in dealing with other parts of the county where the St. Clair Conservation Authority has been involved in, including Sarnia, they sometimes agree that the St. Clair Conservation Authority's shoreline management plan, which dictates where their no-go and go zone is, was implemented in 2012 partially, but not formally put in place to 2015. And most municipalities have not been able to catch up with that and basically redefine their lines. So my personal opinion is like we're 3% of our building is into the hazard area, like very, very minimal. And that EPL zone is just like drawn by me using a Google map image. Based on a very fat line from the zoning bylaw. So it's not really a great line. That's where I guess my concern is where that line is, that we're barely in that line, and that really the Conservation Authority's line is a good distance away. If you look on the blown up site plan that I did, that was part of your package. So that's this one here. You'll notice that there's a thing on the left-hand side, shoreline area 2. That's essentially the Conservation Authority's line. What I define between being able to renovate to the top of the page and to build brand new is to the downside of the page. So that to me is more where the definition of the EPL zone applies, because have done a significant study based on that, and that's their line. That line has been placed there because of a previous edition we did, and it was done with the calculation of an Ontario land surveyor and has been approved previously by the St. Clair Conservation Authority, that line is done in surveyor's coordinates. So that's, I guess, the biggest thing for me is if we were in just a regular zone, then we'd be asking for the front yard setback. To stay out of the hazard zone and to be, compliant with most of the garages in that neighborhood.
Can I just ask our planners to reply to that, please?
Mr. Chair, perhaps I'll start and then I think Randy's got another point as well. Deputy Mayor McEwen will recall that this line that I'm about to use, you've heard it before during the OP update from one of our consultants, and it has to do with the idea of the language of crafting policy and the language of crafting zoning bylaws. So you probably have heard the red, yellow, green stoplight approach. So you have language that is mandatory, obligatory, and not open to any interpretation. Then you get yellow, which is there's some interpretation and there's some leeway, and then you have very unrestricted, open language, which is green. And that comes from the provincial policy statement that talks about the use of language in that and translates down. The one thing you need to look at is the way that the EPL zone is written. It's very specific. And the language of the accessory building regulations is very specific. It says, any accessory building structure located in whole or in part in the EPL. So council's direction was whether you're an inch into the EPL or whether you're 10 feet into the EPL. The EPL zone shall comply, you shall comply to the EPL zone. That's a red. That's a mandatory, obligatory language. So regardless of what zone might be on the other side, council's direction was you comply with the EPL. I think you've got one other point there, right?
Yeah, so through your chair, a lot of the, I guess, arguments being made is that it's located within the EPL zone. The report provided heavily talks about the visual impacts and how much it is taking up in the front yard. Whether it was located in the EPL or the R5 wholly, that would still be an issue and a concern. If it was located wholly in the R5, there may be a couple variances that wouldn't be required, but a variance that would be required is front yard setback, in which the R5 front yard setback is 8 meters. So a 5 meter request would be required through the application. So those, like I said, the main issues within the report were size and location, and that has to do with the front yard setback specifically.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna open it up to our committee members. Before I do that, though, I will, any other correspondence, Isabella, other than from the agencies that provided us? Great, thank you. So I will open it up to, and I'll start with Deputy Mayor Nettie McEwen.
I don't know why I'm privileged, but thank you.
I'd start off with a bang here.
You want 4 variances. So that in itself is, in my opinion, not minor. Would you consider downsizing this?
I have talked to my client. And if so desired, we have found a way. So essentially, it's just one little triangle that's in the EPL.
But
So
I think the
so-
whole building is gonna be very intrusive. Like from a front yard setback.
but I mean, essentially, if we're in an R5, then it's just the front yard setback. And most of the people, like most of the properties along there have garages that are as close, right?
Well, it could be, but each minor variance is dealt with on.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, part of it is too, like, we were trying to create some separation with the house. Again, trying to look for a patio space on the south side of the building, so the closer the garage is. The more I'm in the EPL, the closer I am to the Conservation Authority's regulations, and the closer I am to the house, therefore not creating a patio space. So it's kind of, you know, the front yard is useful but not useful. I would agree more so if the garage doors were facing front, it would look terrible, but I think us putting the garage doors on the side, I don't love garage doors, so.
I think it's way too big, so. Unless you consider what, downsizing it, the height included, I'm really, I'll just be honest, I'm not in favor of it this way.
For sure.
Unless you're gonna consider downsizing, and even the height is extreme. For that size a lot.
Yeah, essentially, the height came because they want to be able to store a boat. In order to store a boat, they want to be 30 feet deep. In order to be 30 feet deep, I'm not like a really steep pitch. I'm a 412, so I'm barely meeting the zoning bylaws as far as a pitched roof goes. So.
Yeah, I understand why you want to do it, but see, those are things that. It's just because they want to, not because they can't.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, we can, I've done a design where basically I take the notch out of the corner.
Yeah.
I'm not in the EPL,
Yeah, that would,
Therefore-
that my variance, of course, it would eliminate it, right?
therefore height wouldn't be a problem. Lot coverage wouldn't be a problem.
That wouldn't be a problem.
No.
It's already-
Through the planner, maybe. Well, it's maybe the planner can verify this, but as soon as you jump into an EPL, the height gets.
Because of the EPL, it's the, and then if he eliminates that little piece, that little triangle, does that reduce the height then and he can meet that requirement?
So through you, the chair, that's correct. The height in the R5 is higher than the EPL, so the EPL zone is why that variance is required.
But will he meet it then?
He'll meet the height, yes.
Okay, if he it takes that triangle off that building.
Yes, that's correct.
Thank you. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, that's, yeah, basically, that's why I said it was like, if where I'm in the R5, essentially the only setback I need is the 3 meters. Now, I do realize it's part of your concern at the massing of it, but I'm kind of like trying to build a building that's R5 regulated, and the only thing that's kind of tying my hands is that front yard setback. We are spending a little bit more money, actually, if this is approved. It does cost a little bit more money because we have to do a deeper foundation because of public works and a water line, so it's not actually saving us any money to be that forward. It's more so creating, essentially it's creating that space. It's really what we want, to get an EPL and create a south side space that they can landscape and patio and hang out when it's not that nice on the lakeside.
You're finished.
I'm done.
Okay, Les?
The one question I had is with the garage doors facing east, I believe. If and when the neighbor puts up a fence. How's he gonna get into the garage?
It's a little deceiving there because it's not like the same road width as a normal laneway, so there's not as, I guess they can't come as far forward. So he informs me that currently, and he's online. He's like, you should see me park this boat where I have to now to protect it. He's like, this will be a dream to be able to park it in there. Not getting onto my neighbor's property.
Yeah, without a fence, I could see him not. Being needing to try to do those jackknife parks, but
Sure, I mean, and partially that's the reason why you'll notice that we put a 16-foot door on that one side, so he can actually pull in on an angle instead of having to go straight in and check mirrors. So that is one of the reasons why there is that larger bay garage door, so.
Anything else, Les?
no, when I did the visit, like I had to agree like that. It's a pretty large structure for that area.
Jennifer?
As it's presented, I can't support it. It's just too large for that space. But one question I do have is Douglas Street a private street or do we own that? So what happens when they do future improvements to that road and this garage is sitting literally right there on the road?
Take another triangle, not
Yeah,
just.
take another triangle.
So I think we have Adam on. Adam, would you like to make any comments on that, if you were able to hear?
Thank you, your chair. Yes, Douglas Street is a fully private owned. It's owned by the original developer of that land area. So it is not publicly owned or maintained at all. We do have water main and sanitary sewer easements over Douglas Street, but we do not perform any road authority functions for that street.
Okay, so that leads to my second question. So was the owners of Douglas Street given notice of this minor variance to be able to comment it?
The minor variance was circulated to a 200-foot radius around the property.
What was it given to the whoever owns Douglas Street?
Travis, you have your hand up. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry, I was more speaking to the concerns of the sanitary and water.
Okay.
I would suggest that they probably were because they own property just on the other side of Douglas.
Okay,
And I think it might be within 200 feet that they own that. So, but that's no confirmation.
that's fine. I don't got nothing further.
Go ahead, Travis.
Through the chair, just to alleviate on the site or the services for the road. There was potentially one minor variance that Josh Booth brought up. That because our foundation was shallow relative to its proximity to the water line, we would have actually had to been 6 meters back. But because we lowered our foundation, that's acceptable to Josh. It can then be a 3-meter setback. So basically what that does is our foundation is deep enough that if they go to replace the water line, it will not undermine our building and there won't be concern of whoever does it and or if it's the town that has to do that. So all of that, we avoided one of those minor variances again by deeper foundation, spending a little bit more money.
Councilor Vacy.
Well, I'm in agreement with everybody here. I just don't see the need for a three-car garage in this little spot. I don't understand how with the room you've got, 16 or 17 feet to get into the garage as a laneway to turn around to get in, get out. I think it's just too big. I understand everybody's got a garage up front and it's close to the road. They're goofy lots. We're used to dealing with the cottages and giving as much help as we can to try and modernize stuff, but I honestly just think it's too big. I'm having a hard time with it.
Okay, so I have a few comments as well. I would agree with most of what the committee has said as well, what the planner has said about the size. I think that it is really large for that area. And I kind of see where this is going, and I'm not sure, well, I mean, I guess I'm not sure what direction Mr. Natswold is on. I will call the motion, and we have a seconder and a mover for the motion, but I can see where it's going unless you would like to come back to us with something that might, I mean, we're pretty friendly here in Plympton-Wyoming, and
Yep. Oh, no.
we try to not have to have people come again for another variances or whatever. I'm not sure if you want to have that opportunity or how you would like to move forward, or whether you not want us to kind of postpone this for you to have a conversation with Mr. Natswold, and you can let us know tonight here, and we can make that decision on what we want to do.
Sure. Yeah, truth be known, the only discussion that I had with the Natswolds was taking the bite out of the corner of that garage. It does basically take out 3 feet by 9 feet. So it doesn't dramatically downsize it. But again, it would get us in the category of the R5 as opposed to the EPL. Therefore, we would only be requesting 1 minor variance as opposed to 4 of them. I don't like multiple variances myself, but in this case,
Without seeing that on paper and without giving our planning an opportunity to be able to address any of that, to see whether or not they still felt it was minor or not, we would have to have that separately, and whatever, it's not a decision I don't believe that we can make here tonight. So I'm looking for direction. I'm giving opportunity here for a possible deferral, or I mean, I will call the question. So
yeah, no, I mean, and that's what we talked about as well. I said, you know, obviously they read the planning report. So they knew where planning stood. So I did bring this up to them, hoping that would appease, but I totally get it. I've seen it, you haven't, planner hasn't. So I would rather a deferral than.
would the committee be okay with that if I propose that referral or deferral, and we can maybe get a mover and a seconder for that?
A motion to defer.
Okay, I think actually Isabella probably has the deferral.
Yeah.
She is so good and she has something ready already for us, so.
Give a reason for the deferral. So.
No, be some discussion still or no?
Yeah, we can still have some, well, I mean, once again, once we defer the discussion, you can also have with planning afterwards or whatever, but feel free, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, part of it is, I mean, obviously I'm deferring it and I'm, you know, trying to revamp it, and I don't want to waste anybody's time here. Sometimes I push the envelope a little bit more, and I think this case we pushed the envelope a little, partially to see what the consensus was. Yeah, I guess I mean, I don't want to flat out ask, because you can't say yes, but it's like, is that bite enough?
So I won't give you an answer, but what I've heard tonight from our committee is that there are issues with the variances, and as well, it sounds like there's an issue with the size of the structure.
Sure.
So I believe that would be the 2 considerations that you would look at. Obviously, the variances themselves and the size of the structure.
Sure.
I can't talk about whether or not the front yard setback is an issue unless planning has the opportunity to be able to look at that. Go ahead, Eddie.
No, I just wondered if Mr. Natswold wanted to say anything in this application.
Sure, Mr. Natswold, now's the opportunity, I guess, before we do anything. Is there anything that you would like to say to the application?
Probably has to unmute him.
It's none.
Oh, there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I did discuss that corner with Travis, and as a secondary option for us, you know, I am in agreement with that change. As for getting in and out of the garage, like I said, as it is now, I have to either back up the entire length of my laneway, actually one way or the other. This would allow me to move my boat in and out of the garage, I guess, actually much easier than backing it in and out of my driveway. Because like I said, I'm over my neighbor's yard now when I'm backing it in, trying to fit it into the driveway. It's a narrow laneway. And so, like I said, this would improve things for me. And when we set the garage up, we had actually, in a sense, mimicked the design of the cottage with the stone and also with the siding and whatnot, so that it would be much more appealing. There's only 3 houses past me on the laneway, so there's minimal traffic, minimal foot traffic going up and down. And I have discussed this with the neighbors around me on either side, and they were all fine with the design, with the size. So I didn't have any concerns from, basically anyone on our street. Like I said, I was
And we
hoping
don't
that
see anyone here or have any letters from them as well, saying that they're against it. I think as you probably heard the committee here tonight of their concerns. So their concerns seem to be obviously the amount of variances, the EPL issue, and the size of the structure. So I think I think if we're going to go and defer this, I think it's a conversation to have with Travis and as well with the planners to see what might be. I can't speak for the committee. All I can speak for is what I heard this evening.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
Thank you. And so at this time, I have a motion by Ned McEwen, seconded by Les Goldhawk, that the report by Randy Burke dated September 1st, 2023 regarding application A 2223 3156 Douglas received, and the application A2 2223 be deferred for alternate design. All those in favor? That's carried.
Much appreciate your time.
You're welcome, Travis. It looks like there might be some more work to be done, so.
There's never not a variance somewhere.
Well,
Thank you.
if there isn't one, then you won't have to come back and see us. So I guess.
No.
All right. I'm sorry, just organizing my papers here. We'll know Isabella will organize them for me afterwards. So 5:45, now I'm late. So minor variance application A 2323. Take notice that an application is made by Chris McCallum with respect to the property known as Plympton Concession 2, Part Lot 16, and registered plan 25R11206, Part 1, Town of Plympton-Wyoming, 510 Main Street. The subject property is zoned industrial. M1, the application is proposing to make an existing concrete pad as a foundation for an existing storage container. Storage container, and it says storage, but I guess that's the following variance has been requested. Just one variance, a variance of approximately 7 meters, 22.97 feet, to permit the proposed front yard setback to be approximately 0 meters, 0 feet, notwithstanding the minimum front yard setback of 7 meters, 22.97 feet as per table B of the zoning bylaw 97 of 2003. At this time, I will refer to our planner, Randy.
So thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, through minor variance application, we must go over the 4 tests outlined in the town official plan. The first one is the requested variance minor. So again, I will state that there is no definition of minor. It is a case-by-case situation. So although the applicant is requesting a variance of numerically 100%, the property is zoned to allow for the housing of CCAMs, and a site visit was completed, and there are no concerns in terms of visibility of cars, pedestrians on Main Street. There does seem to be no adverse effects, and the neighboring properties and adjacent lands have similar decreased setbacks around them, so therefore the proposed variance is minor. The second one is the general intent and purpose of the official plan maintained? So the property is designated industrial in the town official plan. This designation permits general warehouse and commercial use, including accessory structures to those permitted uses, in which these CCANs are intended to support the applicant's business that is going there. You should note too that the applicant is currently going through a site plan approval process, which will be able to address some other neighborhood characteristics and up to the town standards. So overall, the application maintains the general intent of the official plan. Is the general intent and the zoning bylaw maintained? The subject property is zoned industrial, in which commercial storage is a permitted use, such as CCANs. To reiterate, the front yard setback is intended to determine a neighborhood's characteristic. Again, the adjacent properties are zoned industrial and have buildings with decreased setbacks. So it will keep in line with the, again, current setbacks and current characteristics of Main Street. Again, going through site plan control application process, so can ensure that the characteristics and design standards of the town are generally met, as well as the zoning bylaws maintained. Is the minor variance desirable for the development or use of the land, building, or structure? Overall, planning staff feels that the variance is desirable and appropriate as it is zoned and designated for the permitted use. For those reasons, the planning staff recommend approval with the following conditions. Staff were provided with an updated drawing that committee did receive, which should be reflected in condition 1. And I know that the motion can be changed to reflect that if desired by committee.
It should simply reflect today's date.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Mr. McCallum, you've heard the report from our planner. Anything to add or anything you would like to say?
No, not really. I'm mostly just trying to keep the CCANs on an existing concrete foundation and make them work for how we use them every day and leave myself space to develop my shop behind it.
Okay.
Future.
And Isabella, any correspondence?
No, I think so.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll open it up for our committee. I'll start with Councillor McEwen, oh my God. Mr. Vasey, Councillor Vasey.
Thanks. The only thing would like to see would be like some kind of shielding in front of it. Just instead of seeing a flat black wall, because there is houses across the street, there will be if they're not already. Other than that, I'd like to say it's zoned for it. Everything along that road is up along the roadway anyway. So it's not much different than what's there now. So I don't have much of an issue, but
My plan in the future was to actually build a wall off of the top of the CCANs to kind of dress the roadside up.
yeah, that's all that, like, just the roadside of it, if there's something to make it pretty, that would. Seeing what's gone on beside you, they've made that look nice, that,
Oh, I'm sure if everybody remembers what this looked like 5 years ago.
exactly, that's, yep.
Ken?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we can take that as a suggestion through the site plan process. It might be something that we can talk to the applicant about to include in the site plan agreement.
So anything else, Mike?
Nope.
Jennifer?
So I am a neighbor right across the road from them. But I'm outside of the circulation, which is fine, because I don't have a problem with what they're doing, because it's far better than what it is. The one thing, and as Mike said, like, and it would come up in site plan control as dust control, but if you're got a concrete pad, I don't see how much dust there is. Because that is an issue along that street with all those properties that are in the industrial zone, is the dust and the gravel that comes off of them. That filtrates that road. Other than that, I don't have an issue with the application as it's presented. Good luck.
Let's.
We don't have any issues with the application.
Nettie?
Well, I don't have any issues either, so, I think, yeah. I'm all for it, it's,
So as far as the shielding for the site plan, can we get that? Does that need to be in our motion here, or can we? Expect that? I mean, if it's not in here, I'm not sure how it's gonna relay over to the site plan.
So through you, Mr. Chair, I'm taking notes of things that committee is advising that we need to consider in the site plan approval. So right now, the agreement has not been completed because a variance was needed. Once the variance appeal process is done, then the site plan can proceed forward. So what we will do, considering that these issues will fall into site plan, is we will bring them through the site plan agreement. I don't think in this particular instance, a condition is warranted. We have direction from committee as to your concerns. I actually was not aware that dust and gravel were a concern, so we've been taking some notes through the meeting.
We're not in and out 10.
No, it's your neighbors and the new development down the road.
All right. So if the committee's Nettie,
yeah, so you don't think it's necessary to put that as part of the condition, just so it's not forgotten along the way somewhere?
Through your worship, I don't think it causes any problems. I mean, you can. I simply take it as we have some direction from committee about concerns, but if you feel the need to do belts and braces and put it as a condition, you've already suggested an amendment to the conditions anyway. So then if you're considering a new one, then just add a condition 5 to say that staff, that dust and gravel control and I can't think of a better word other than beautifying the sea cans, the facade facing residential is included in the site plan.
It's
Well,
pretty hard to dictate
yeah, I
what he has to do there, other than.
That's part of the
Okay, let's leave it.
we do have it in there, just, yeah, so. So I do have a motion here by Mike Basie, seconded by Nettie McEwen. That the report by Randy Burke dated September 1st, 2023 regarding application A 2323 510 Main Street be received and the application A 2323 be approved with following conditions. That the sea cans be located in the exact locations as shown in the site plan provided to the committee on September the 12th, 2023. Titled Existing Conditions Plan. Sheet number C1 dated September 11th, 2023. And that the applicant undertake a site plan control application for the subject plan. All those in favor? That's carried. As you heard earlier, there's a 20-day appeal period, and you can have discussion with whomever, with Isabella, and she'll let you know when the 20-day appeal period has passed, and you can go forward with what your site plan and whatever kind of stuff that you need to do. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
All right. Right. Severance application. B 1023. Take notice that an application has been made by Denton's Canada LLP. In care of Joseph DeBono, agent for Ian Gare, with respect to the property known as Part Lot 13 concession to part of PIN 43114-0484 LT, Town of Plympton-Wyoming 4231 Confederation Line. The applicant is requesting consent to sever approximately 12,780 square meters. So 3.15 acres of land from the above noted property. The severed land is proposed to be conveyed to the existing CN rail corridor as a lot addition. The retained parcel 4231 Confederation Line will be approximately 135,980 square meters, 33.6 acres. The severed and retained lands are zoned agricultural to A2 by the Town of Plympton-Wyoming zoning bylaw. this time I will refer to our planner, Randy Burke.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. When dealing with a severance application, there are no 4 tests, but we do need to go over different forms of planning policies throughout the province. I'll start with the provincial policy statement. The PPS does state that rail facilities shall be undertaken so their long-term operation and economic roles are protected. This proposed severance is intended to facilitate rail infrastructure operations and be added to the abutting quarter as a lot addition. The County of Lambton official plan also has policies surrounding railway quarters and maintenance. And it states that the county will promote the maintenance and improvement of modern infrastructure, including railways. And it also states that railway facilities are considered an importance to the agricultural sector, as they provide shipping of farm products as well as everyday economic completeness. Just again, the proposed severance is intended to support the rail facilities. We don't see there being any adverse effects to neighboring properties due to the lot addition. Moving forward, the town of Plympton-Wyoming official plans, it is designated as restricted agricultural area. The town official plan does state that a consent may be permitted within an agricultural area if the purpose is to facilitate an infrastructure project and minimal land is taken. It was communicated to staff that, again, this would be for railway infrastructure and that the proposed severed lands was surplus to the agricultural lot that is being severed from. And finally, the town of Plympton-Wyoming zoning bylaw. The property is zoned agricultural. The zoning bylaw states that government agencies may, for the purpose of public service, use any land or any building structure in any zone, in spite of the fact that such use of any building sector does not conform with the provisions of the bylaw. The severance was submitted on behalf of CN Rails to allow for increased infrastructure. Thus, it is a permitted use through the zoning bylaw as it has come from a government agency. Because of these policies that have been outlined, planning staff recommends approval with the following conditions.
All right, thank you very much, Randy. And I know I see 2 people that are online virtually, Kevin Pratt and Andrea Patterson. I'm wondering who would like to speak on that. Isabella, do you know who?
Patterson is the representative.
Ms. Patterson, Ms. Patterson, you heard the report from our planner. Anything to add?
I think you have to unmute.
I've prompted her to unmute.
All right, I don't know if she can hear me, but Ms. Patterson, unmute yourself if you are able to do that. Adam, can you reach down and unmute for her?
She's in the chat. She's trying but is unable.
Oh, goodness.
It only allows me to ask to unmute. And I've prompted several times.
Okay. Is there a possibility for her to phone in somehow, Isabella, or another way for her to be able to?
She can rejoin maybe if she rejoins.
Patterson, we can wait if you wouldn't mind just logging out and maybe logging back in. I'm not sure if that will help or not. We're almost on time here. We're willing to wait for that.
She's going to try rejoining, but she put in the chat that she agrees with the planning staff report.
Okay, we'll wait for her to rejoin and then we will move on if she's not able to speak.
I think you can show the chat box on the screen. I'm sorry, Isabel. I'm done for the day.
Thing happened to me when I couldn't, couldn't mute myself. When I remember the council meeting that I was there, I could hear you guys, but I could not unmute and it wouldn't. Yeah, it wasn't. Teams out there. But teams out of. So many of them.
Can she hear us? I presume.
Yeah, she can hear us. Yeah, we'll give her an opportunity here first.
Yeah.
Ms. Patterson, we still don't hear you. What we'll continue to do here, if you would like to add anything, feel free to type it in, and then we will continue. And if there's any questions that we want to refer to you, then we can maybe, I assume you can still hear us, so we'll continue to move forward, and I'm not sure what the technical issue is. But Isabella, I believe we did get some correspondence just from the agencies related to this. Any more correspondence for this application? So I will give the opportunity to our committee to ask some questions. Jennifer, you're up first.
I don't have an issue with this. I agree with the planner's report. I don't have anything to add. I don't have any questions.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Basie?
I've got a couple.
Okay.
One, they talk about a CN being a government agency when it's not, it's a privately owned company. Just throwing that out there. It states it's for infrastructure, but we don't have any idea what that is or what, like, is it necessary, or are they just looking to pick up some property? And thirdly, my biggest concern is when it comes to drainage of that property. How are we, right now, we're guaranteed to get money for the drainage of that property. If we sever it, then we no longer have that control as they refuse to pay it. So I don't see where it's in our best interest to move this forward. So there's, like, right now, we put down the taxes. If there's drainage and it's not paid, it's paid through 4231 Confederation line. And we'll go on their taxes and we get the money. If we sever it, we have no guarantee of anything, and I don't see where that's in our best interest.
Ms. Patterson, I'm not sure if you have an opportunity to type in to respond to any of the things that Councillor Basie has mentioned. I believe he has just asked about what the severance, is there any plans for any sort of infrastructure or anything on there? There's an issue with the drainage and it being paid. So I'm wondering if that's a possibility for you to be able to type anything in for that.
Whenever we're splitting lots, whatever, isn't there always a thing in there about drainage assessment being moved to that new part and everything else?
Yeah, I'm not sure. So I see, Adam, maybe there's something that you would like to add into that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So staff were apprehensive about the severance at first due to the fact that we do not have the great relationship with CN right now when it comes to municipal drainage. CN and other rail companies have taken the standpoint that they are not controlled by the Ontario Drainage Act, as it is a provincial statute, that they feel as a federally regulated company that they are not liable to it. So recently they stopped paying for drainage assessments and drainage bills and their portion of municipal drains. They did pay to reapportion recent severances that have occurred, though, as it was related to the severance, not related to a Drainage Act process. So I'm confident that they would pay their apportionment costs in this situation. However, Councillor Basie is correct in stating that if we did have drainage costs from drainage works in the area, that CN has not been paying those bills, and that this land could then be incorporated into that line of thinking and would not then would be refusing to pay their drainage bills. To give some of the members who are not as familiar with our councillors on the matter is currently the town of Plympton-Wyoming and the township of Warwick, along with numerous other municipalities, are advocating to the federal government to bring CN back to the Drainage Act and to pay their legal fees under the Drainage Act. Through AMO and Roma, all the groups are starting to consider legal action. So we can only get into so much detail, but there is quite a large outstanding sum of money to multiple municipalities in the area. We chose not to try to block this severance, as we felt it would be unfair to the property owner who may be financially benefiting from this deal. To block the severance because of our dispute with CN in that matter. We attempted to encourage CN to pay their outstanding fees through a severance with the previous applicant, where he obtained CN lands, and it hurt his case more than it hurt CN's case. So we didn't think it would be appropriate to take that tack on again in this severance case, and that's why we did not make any comment on it. We are working as a group to resolve the drainage impasse with CN. But unfortunately, at the time of this meeting, there is no resolution, and Councillor Vasey is correct that if we approve it, we're essentially taking lands out of hands that would typically pay their drainage assessments.
Okay, thank you. And I can, sorry.
Sorry, your chair, Ms. Patterson has added a comment. She's said that the proposed use would support the railway operation. I don't have any further details. The official plan does allow for severance of lands.
I can, I'll speak on myself on behalf of a bit of the committee. Of course, not privy to the information that is out there. I'm not sure. Sounds like we have two councillors on our committee that are privy to that information. I'm not sure if the rest of us knew about that, whether or not that will affect our decision or not. I can't say. So I'll open it, continue to open it up for questions again. And I'll move over to Deputy Mayor McEwen.
Okay, I do have some questions and they probably will not be answered if Ms. Patterson can't get online. So I understand this severance is for infrastructure, although I don't know what the infrastructure is. And I think I would like that explained. I mean, if we're doing infrastructure, it's servicing, but I don't know what infrastructure for the CN is. So that's a question I would like answered. They're taking 3 acres of land out of agricultural use with really no justification except it be used for infrastructure. So eventually that would have to be drained some way. I don't know what they're doing with it, but it would have to be drained. And since there is an outstanding bill that they refuse to pay already, why would we want to give them more land to refuse to pay drainage on? It just doesn't make any sense to me at this point. So without all these explanations outstanding, I would not be able to move forward in the affirmative manner.
All right, Les?
I'm probably gonna echo the same type of things I had written down here, is that I had a big question mark after increased infrastructure. That's pretty wide open. That could be I'm not really sure. So that was the question mark for me. I had also noted who's going to pay the drainage assessment in the future. And so I agree with what has been said already, is that right now it's being paid for through the current owner. And unless there's some provision, I can't see why, that would be,
Excuse me.
allowed.
So Ms. Patterson, I'm sorry, go ahead. Somebody had their.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Ken.
through you, Mr. Chair, and I'm going to attempt to assist Ms. Patterson, considering she can't verbally contribute. I am making, and I caveat what I'm about to say with, I'm making an assumption that this is what they're seeking. Generally speaking, when you talk about railway infrastructure, you're talking about anything related to the operation of the railway. So it can be anything from they need to build communications trunk that could be put off to the side because there's new switching technology or what have you. It could be a new siding to get trains out of the way, because some of the corridor is getting to a point that it's too busy. So better to get a train off the side, get things moving and then move it back. It could be Could be any of those things. So when we talk about infrastructure, we're, for a railway, we're talking about the tracks, we're talking about a crossing. The siding lines or any of their related infrastructure for switching, et cetera. The second comment I'll add, and I know this is not going to be a happy comment for the town. Unfortunately, from a planning act perspective, you're not able to get to where you want to go with your issue. And I know that I see Deputy Mayor nodding, and I need to get it out there that that's not a planning act issue that you can really condition. Doesn't mean that I'm not sympathetic. I totally understand. Because we provide service to Warwick too, and we've had this conversation with them too. But I don't think that's gonna get you where you need to go.
Yeah, and thank you. And I also, I mean, we are a separate entity from the, Committee of Adjustments is a separate entity from council. So, and I just want to say that out loud. So.
The only other thing I would offer,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair, considering the technical challenges that we're having.
Yes.
Presupposed what their definition of what they're seeking for infrastructure. I mean, I don't know if this is time.
Yeah.
If you could defer it.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to suggest, Ms. Patterson, is, I mean, once again, we'd love to hear from you verbally, and wondering if you would not be opposed to. You hear the questions from our committee members, especially as far as the infrastructure that will be there. And what the plan is for the thing. Is this a situation where it needs to be done right away, or can it wait and be deferred?
Ms. Patterson has put in the chat, would you consider deferral of this matter? I've also shared with her the details to phone into the meeting, so she's currently trying to attempt to connect that way. If you have a few minutes, otherwise, she said would you consider deferral of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to speak, but it sounds like there's just more information that will go
Yes,
back.
deferral would be acceptable.
Okay, so is the committee okay with that? I know which way I would go, but that's there, I think that the borough will. So, thank you. All the councillors, you guys can defer.
Give Jen something to sign.
Yeah, I don't want Jen to sign.
I don't
She's
think I'll
off
sign the deferral. Because you're muddying two different acts.
Great.
I
I
agree.
did 2 weeks in a row.
Absolutely agree.
Jennifer and I agree.
And if they
Miracle.
do it,
Yeah,
they'll
we're
get it
screwed.
anyways.
Pay a lot of money. All right, anyway. I have a motion by Danny McEwen, seconded by Les Goldhawk, that the report by Randy Burke dated September 1st, 2023 regarding application B 1023-4231 Confederation line be received, and the application B 1023 be deferred. All those in favor? That's carried. Ms. Patterson, we'll look forward to hearing from you. And maybe you can talk to our planners and maybe have some of that and once again, our technology might be able to be somehow that we can hear you and that we can actually see you in person. So apologies if our technology wasn't up to standards and how we and being muted, it's not the best. So thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you in the next few months. So we will move forward with our meeting.
In the chat, thank you and apologies for the technical problem.
Yeah, and it could be our side as well. So, but we'll look forward to seeing her again. Or not, or actually seeing her. So. So I talked to Isabella earlier today. I don't believe that we had any business arising from the previous minutes. You did all receive that correspondence and then the rebuttal to the correspondence that we received in our emails. So that I thought that might be in our business arising, but we don't need to discuss that tonight. Any old business? Isabella has none. new business or reasons for decisions. I mean, once again, the two deferrals that we had. I hope the committee is okay with us deferring. I think here in Plympton-Wyoming, we do like to give people an opportunity rather than just say no, give them an opportunity to massage things or to maybe not need any variances. So it gives them an opportunity not to have to pay the fees again and to come back and see us. So we did have the two deferrals. We actually had two motions that we approved. So I will move towards our folks that are online. Adam, happy that you're not with us today, and I hear that you have the COVID and you look awful, even on our crappy technology that we have. But is there any old business that you would like to, or any new business that you would like to bring up?
No, Mr. Chair, thank you.
Corinne, I see that you're on still. Any business that you would like?
Nothing from me, thank you.
All right, planners. I'll start over Councilor Vasey. Jennifer,
I have nothing.
Nettie,
I received a letter from Janet Smith and I think you shared it with everyone, that so maybe she wants to come back and.
yeah, so I think that was I just addressed that kind of under business arising, kind of that we would, I mean, that the explanation was given after the letter, so we were fine with that, so. Thanks, Nettie.
Okay.
Les.
But no, I haven't.
All right, I have a motion here, moved by Nettie McEwen, seconded by Mike Vasey, that the Committee of Adjustments meeting be adjourned and the next meeting be scheduled for October 17th, 2023 at 5:15 p.m. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you all to the work from our staff and